All right, I hope everyone here today is excited to talk about the International Patient Summary. First, a little bit about me. I'm a software developer by background. For the last 11 years, I've been developing electronic medical records. I worked on clinical applications for a little bit, but I've spent most of my career working on document-based interoperability platforms. And for the last 5 years or so, I've specialized more so in standards and standards development. And today, I lead Epic's FHIR R&D team. So here is our agenda for the next 20 minutes. We'll talk briefly about what the IPS is and some recent development updates on our end. But the bulk of this discussion is going to be sharing our vision for the future of IPS integrations and highlighting some of the promise and potential for the IPS. I'll note that this is our perspective as one implementer, so while this is our focus, it may not be everyone's. You've seen several other use cases throughout the week, and I think that's one of the strengths of this standard. It's versatile. It's not limited to any particular use case. So I'm guessing that most people here at least have a general idea of what the International Patient Summary is, so I'm not going to go into a ton of detail here. But for the purpose of this discussion, at a high level, the IPS is a FHIR document. It summarizes a patient's care, and it represents that data both as discrete FHIR resources and as a human-readable narrative. So if you're looking for more detail and more information, Rob gave an excellent presentation on Wednesday about IPS 2.0 updates. I'll refer you to that to go look up the recording and find more. So to cut to the chase, I'm happy to share that last month, Epic released our initial support for the International Patient Summary as part of our Care Everywhere interoperability platform. So in the May 2025 release, the Epic community can produce IPS documents in response to FHIR queries. Now, long-term, we aim to receive and display IPS documents from other vendors, and we look forward to those partnerships and to working with the community to iterate and make that kind of bi-directional exchange possible. Now, to understand our motivations for supporting the IPS and where we aim to go from there, we'll first take a moment to reflect backwards how we got to where we are today. So, Care Everywhere is Epic's interoperability platform, specifically targeting provider-to-provider exchange for the purpose of treatment. So our use case here is when a patient goes from one health system to another, both sides can see the full medical record, the patient's whole history. Now that network has been alive for 17 years now, so it predates the IPS. It even predates FHIR as a whole as a standard. Today it uses many technologies, that includes FHIR, but at its core, it's built on a foundation of CDA exchange and IHE transactions. And this network has produced some truly remarkable outcomes. Today, millions of records are exchanged every single day, and that is both within and across 10 countries around the world. So we and our community members want to continue to expand this network to reach even more of the global community, and specifically the growing FHIR community. Everyone here at this conference is a testament to the FHIR community as a whole, the momentum and the power behind this standard. And we've found in recent years that as we look to connect to new communities, or even to new participants within established communities, everybody wants to develop FHIR. So we set out a goal. We want to achieve all of those benefits of interoperability outcomes using FHIR as the primary underlying technology. And our IPS support is one step towards that goal, the first of many steps in what will be a long journey. There are many reasons why the International Patient Summary is really great for this use case, and I'll cover a few of them here. First, it is an international standard. So we're talking about expanding into the global FHIR community. What better way to start than with something that is universal realm and really intended from the start to be used to work everywhere? I'll note that while international is in the name, the IPS is also very well suited for domestic exchange, and we see that today in the world of CDA. We have community members that are connected domestically and across national borders, and that kind of exchange definitely happens today, but the reality of healthcare is just that the majority of care happens within a jurisdiction, and the exchange volumes reflect that as well. I think Rob put this well in his session. He said that when talking about cross-border exchange, one of the most important borders to cross is crossing the street to your neighbor and the health system across the street. So another advantage of the International Patient Summary is that it is a FHIR document. So this means that for groups who have that history of exchanging CDA documents today, they've already got a workflow for displaying these documents, and we intend to reuse that and hope that much of that infrastructure will be reusable as opposed to having to start from scratch. And as convenient of a fact that is for the established folks, I argue that for the newcomers looking to start new and from scratch, FHIR documents are even more of an advantage, because that FHIR narrative means that you can immediately upon receiving the document display its full contents to a user and establish that as a floor for interoperability. And in the early days of CDA exchange, that's what interoperability was. Over the years, discrete data parsing grew more advanced, and we went on to add reconciliation workflows and even automatic reconciliation workflows. But the IPS narrative enables an immediate foundation of interoperability that you can easily achieve, and then it provides a path to iterate and improve from there. So you don't have to boil the ocean and tackle all of the complexities of discrete data exchange before you can achieve real-world value from this exchange. Lastly, the IPS truly is a global investment. We have seen widespread engagement and support for the IPS in many locales around the world. Many regions look to the IPS as a foundation for national exchange programs, and several other vendors have joined us in committing to support it. EHDS has named patient summaries as one of the first required use cases that they're going to have. And while we didn't know that at the time we started this project, I think that is a very good indication that our intuition is correct here, that the global community is committed to patient summaries. Now, I think the EHDS is also a pretty decent segue into one potential challenge facing global IPS adoption, and that is a large variance in regional profiles. We've seen many jurisdictions release national profiles based on the IPS, and in some cases, even multiple profiles within a single country. So I very much understand the need to adapt universal profiles to meet local needs. But at the same time, we must also balance that with a recognition that in order to interoperate, we all need to speak the same language to some degree. So I have a request, a plea, if you will, for anyone who is authoring an IPS profile or considering doing so. Take a good hard look at the base spec and ask if you can use the base profile, and wherever possible, please do so. Now, if you do need to profile and add additional constraints, do so mindfully. It's one thing to say that this is the relevant code set for our jurisdiction, and this is how addresses are formatted here. It's another story entirely to restructure fundamentally how a resource is represented or composed. So I'd like to propose two kind of guiding rules for profiling IPS that I think will help to enable global interoperability. And they vary a little bit based on whether you're the recipient or the producer of the IPS. So on the receiving side, receiving systems should accept any IPS that conforms to the base IPS profile. This approach recognizes that there are others outside of your jurisdiction that are capable of producing similar documents, and you can still get real value from them by accepting them, even if they don't conform to your specific standards. And then on the flip side, for producing documents, ensure that your profile and constraints maintain backwards compatibility with the base profile so that you can fit into those recipient sides who have the more lenient on what they receive. So I mentioned earlier that our goals and our vision extend beyond the International Patient Summary, and let's talk about what that might look like more future-facing. So the world of interoperability extends beyond patient summaries, and the IPS is deliberately not intended to balloon to cover the full scope of anything that you may need to interoperate or exchange. So how do we cover those use cases? Well, one possibility could be additional FHIR document types. EHDS appears to be leaning into document exchange for things like the hospital discharge report and other data types. And who knows, if we see successful international patient summary, maybe there's a world in which we see a future international encounter summary profile at someday. You know, that would be kind of an interesting approach similar to what CDA did. Another idea is that IPS exchange can lay the groundwork for further RESTful queries and lean into the more RESTful nature of FHIR. So imagine that for the purpose of IPS exchange, you've gotten over the hump to connect all these FHIR endpoints, and now you have the IPS. You can parse through those resources. You can pull in references, and that can inform future additional RESTful queries to pull in more data that's relevant to your use case. That aligns well with the iterative approach I mentioned earlier, where you can, over time, focus on your needs and your priorities and add new features on top of this foundation. That's what I have today. What questions do you have?
Awesome. Thanks for the presentation. Thanks for supporting IPS. Can't wait to get my hands on mine. Regarding, you had on one of your early slides the reading of IPS. How far are your plans with that? Is it possible for me to get my IPS in Finland, go to US to some practice and show a QR code, and then they would embed that data? You said that viewing also external IPS, would that be stored somewhere? Can you share your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. We don't have a timeline for that yet. Again, I mentioned we're hoping to partner with other community members, have other vendors who are capable of producing them so we can set out and work out the bidirectional nature of that exchange and how to connect all of these workflows.
Yeah, wasn't asking for timeline, but early plans.
Yeah.
And then I'd ask you to pay attention to this kind of patient as a courier of the data as a really critical thing. That's important for me.
Understood. Thanks.
Thank you. Great presentation. Ruben from Australia and also HL7 International. I'm not sure if you're aware, but there's a considerable interest from regional affiliates to adopt IPS in a local patient summary FHIR IG aligned to the IPS-based spec, but also to pull in their local core. In Australia, we have the AU core. And in fact, Graham is now working on a way in which to define your spec such that your profiles can inherit from multiple parent profiles. I was wondering if you could reflect on whether this will help or hinder implementers like Epic in their implementation to not only support cross-country or international interoperability, but also their local customers. Thank you.
Great question. I think you probably picked up on some of the reservations that we have as a large multinational vendor, trying to find a way to support simultaneously all of these different profiles. And I think one of the most important things is, if they're not all identical and there are use cases, make sure that they're at least mutually compatible. If we can agree on that base and inherit that in a way such that my constraints don't conflict with your constraints and we can do this and accept each other, that's a tough ask when there are so many different actors doing this and how to know who everyone is. So I think if we start from a core IPS and we have strong guidance about here are what the foundation that the same language that everyone should speak, and then have the more fine tuning after that, that could be one approach. I think it's going to be a journey and one that we're walking down and we'll figure out as we go.
So to answer your question, who all the players are. I'm Elliot Silver, and I was one of the profilers on PSCA. But that has nothing to do with my question. So you mentioned that you implemented the generate option or the summary operation to actually create the resource. When you receive it, do you still keep it as a document, at the bundle endpoint or your internal document store, or do you break it apart and integrate it into your record?
That is a great question. To the first part, we implemented the $summary operation as the API to produce IPS documents out of Epic. The receiving side doesn't exist yet. We have a lot of ideas. I think we will likely potentially do some combination of both to store the document itself so that that can be produced and rendered as determined by the producer of the document. But like I mentioned in other interoperability contexts, we've gone much further than that over the course of developing these interoperable systems, and we have more discrete things. So I'd imagine it would also, from there, the goal would be to discretely parse it out, feed it into activities to reconcile into the local chart and unlock more advanced features than rendering the document.
Anyone else?
I want to thank Casey for a great presentation, and we really appreciate the support and all the work that Epic is putting into this. This is really, really great. And just along the lines of the pleas about trying to be as accepting as possible, incoming, and as compatible as possible when you're generating and all that. In developing the IPS standard, we've tried really hard to make it as as open and flexible to allow for everybody to be able to make use of it as we can, and to make it easy for folks to do what they need to do locally, but to stay with the base. And I think I heard that and reflected in what Casey was saying. But we really tried hard in developing the spec for that. But if we've missed it anywhere, if we've not done that well enough, if we're causing, if anything in the spec is causing people problems, we really want to hear about that and to try to make it better. So we're always trying to improve and help all of our goals to be interoperable. So.
Yep. And if I could add a plug to add on top of that, as we started developing this, we learned as an implementer, getting into the weeds, we had feedback, we had questions. The IPS work group is very approachable, and so if you as a profiler think you can't do something within this, I encourage you to take it directly to them. We've been able to learn more about the spec and also kind of influence things to make sure that our implementation is successful as well. So.
Thank you. Mikael Rinnemäki from Finland. Regarding export of the IPS, how do you see that playing out in the real world? To me, the most logical way would be that you have IPA as the access mechanism, and then you would have different apps that would actually take the structured document and visualize it and help, for instance, navigate through the IPS. But is that your view, and do you have other mechanisms for kind of giving patient access to that document?
Yeah. Right now, our focus is largely dedicated to that provider-to-provider exchange and building it as part of the products we offer. I definitely see the use case for the patient-facing side of things, and what we've typically done in that space is, the smart OAuth workflow where they authorize the access through their patient portal login. I imagine a future in which we do the patient-mediated download and things like that would follow a similar pattern.
And have you looked at XShare project in EU and yellow button that we have?
We are aware and trying to stay ahead of all of these. I can't speak to much detail there today, but if you have feedback, I'd love to learn more from you.
Anyone else? Thanks a lot, Casey. Let's give him a big round of applause. There is a QR code placed outside the